Welcome to today's episode of ACIT's ProPod, ACIT's first podcast dedicated to the biggest moments and events in professional sports. Today we're going to take a look back at the results of the divisional playoffs from last weekend before diving into the matchups of the NFL's Final Four. My name is Brian Lacivita, and once again I'm joined by our team of student football analysts, Xzavior, Jaden, and Ryan. How you guys feeling?
I'm feeling good.
I'm feeling great.
All right. What did you guys think about last weekend as a whole? Was it fun? Was it dramatic? Was it what you hoped for?
It went somewhat the way I expected, but it was wild as well.
It's a tad bit of goofy games. But
Yeah. Like some of them were tighter than they appeared, and the scores weren't as close as they seemed.
Yeah.
But I think we'll break a lot of that down as we analyze each game from last weekend, and especially talk about what some of these teams need to do to improve before next year. A couple things they can fix.
Yeah.
So to start, just like we did last week, we're going to review the games from last weekend, the divisional matchup games, before previewing the AFC and NFC championship this upcoming weekend. All right, to start us off, Jaden's going to kick us off with Kansas City over Jacksonville, 27-20.
Ooh, what a game this was. It was closer than the last time they played. 7-point game. Last time they played, it was a 10-point game. And I'm actually surprised that it was this close, because the Jags were struggling against tight ends. Who is it? Ingram?
Ingram.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they were struggling against Ingram, and coming into this game, I was like, yeah, they're going to struggle against Kelsey because, well, it's Kelsey. He got about 98 yards that game. He had a good performance, as well as Pacheco. He's from Vineland, actually.
Yeah, Pacheco's changed their entire offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the running game went crazy. 95, and then McKinnon 25, so about 120 yards that game.
Yeah, I think I started to realize a little bit that McKinnon's more your gadget guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy who will break you off a big run, but Pacheco's that guy who can keep feeding the ball to throughout a game.
Yeah, indeed. What do you guys think, Xzavior and Ryan?
Nah, I don't got nothing to say. You kind of covered it.
Yeah, not really, because you didn't talk about the two turnovers that costed the Jaguars the game. The fumble by Jamal Agnew, I think the 2 or 1 yard line.
Yeah.
And then the pick right afterwards.
So do you think if they didn't turn the ball over, do you think the Jags could have actually pulled out with the win?
Yeah, they had to play a perfect game coming into it because it's the Chiefs, and I mean Patrick Mahomes had that injury,
Oh yeah,
but it didn't really affect him that much.
That would have been the difference. I mean, Kansas City was pretty well in control of the game until the injury, and then opened the door for Jacksonville, and then young team, all young players shot themselves in the foot late in the game. Yeah. And both those turnovers were in the fourth quarter, weren't they?
Yep.
Yeah. And they were on that next. They were a couple plays away from maybe taking it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's the youth of the Jaguars and the experience of the Chiefs coming out when the big moments call for it. I don't think Jacksonville's going to go anywhere. We talked about this last week that Jacksonville has a history of being great one year and then disappearing for a decade. Mm-hmm. But I mean, just watch the last couple of weeks, especially with the coaching, the Doug Peterson thing. He's a good coach. The players follow him. I would be surprised if they won their division next year and got off to a better start and stuff like that. Yeah. It was surprising. But I think as a pure football fan, we got the team that should have won. After last weekend, I'm glad the Giants and the Jags are out because now we have the best four still standing.
Yeah.
So even from a pure football point, we have the 4 best teams left.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we should get 2 great games. Yeah. We should.
Should.
Say that and then one team gets blown out. Or it's one of them's a 9-6 game. And they're like, woo!
Bill Cincinnati.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get to that in a sec. Xzavior, you're going to kick off our next one with the Philadelphia Eagles defeating the New York Giants 38-7. But I think you should start by apologizing to the Philadelphia fan base and the Philadelphia organization for claiming that with a loss last week, they would have been the worst, not just a disappointing season, the worst franchise in football.
Yeah, I do remember you saying that.
All right. Now the take might have been a little bit overboard. But I tell you, I will stand by my words. I will never apologize. You will never see me bending the knee. I'm going to stick by my word. I said they're going to beat them by 14. Well, you saw the Eagles beat them by 30.
31.
31.
Even worse.
Just have to rub it in their faces a little bit, huh? You Eagles fans.
Listen, we came in and we are the better team.
Did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
They looked like the team that they looked like the first 8 weeks of the season.
Exactly.
You know, they look like, and looking back at it, it's like, were they just bored at the end of the season? You know, week 18 against the Giants, were they literally just calling a preseason game because they know they didn't need to do all of that?
Yeah.
You know, I admitted on Monday when we first got in the class that I was wrong. I mean, I said the game was going to be over at the half, but it was over by the end of the first quarter. I mean, all right. You break it down, you look at the Giants. Yeah. Did they have for them as a successful season? Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone was like they're a 4 or 5 win team. But they won double that, went and won a playoff game. It doesn't matter if you look, 10 years from now or 5 years from now when the Giants are a first place team again and they're really competitive, whether or not that's Daniel Jones is the quarterback.
Eli Manning clone.
Yeah. Eli was probably better. But clutch. Eli's got the clutch gene.
Number 1 defense. Every single year, they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, what do they always say? What's the kryptonite for Tom Brady? Is that you get a front four, it's going to get in his face. And so the Giants beat them twice. Like, they got a lot of talent on their defense. And the best thing that can come from them now is obviously they're well coached.
Yeah.
I think you re-sign Jones, you re-sign Barkley to decent deals. I mean, even Barkley's already said, you're not going to break the market for me. I get it. I'm injured all the time.
Don't overpay the running back.
Don't overplay the running back because you got other holes you have to fill. And that was the biggest thing. I mean, it's not scheme. I don't think it's coaching or anything like that. There's just a talent gap between the Eagles and the Giants. It's as simple as it was. When you line them up man on man, there might, and we talked about this yesterday for a few minutes, was, what players on one team could start on the team they're playing against. Maybe there's only 1 or 2 Giants that would start above the Eagles roster right now. But they're not that far off. And all those guys who were nobodies that were getting picked up off the garbage sheet, who's the receiver, Hodgins, stuff like that. I think he earned himself a job next year.
Yeah.
He's not going to be anyone's practice squad player. So the Giants said the outlook is good. They got it's experience. Young guys. I mean, you get experience for the coach. Forget that. The guy's got enough rings for one hand. He's good.
Yeah.
He's already working to the other hand. So the Giants are going to be a threat the next couple of years. In the grand scheme of the way they played, I think the Giants showed more heart and effort in that blowout than the Cowboys did in a game they had a genuine chance to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Fat
agree
boy
on
Mike
that.
McCarthy.
Hey, I'm not going to disparage any of that kind of stuff. Hey, McCarthy's not the one throwing the ball.
True.
Throwing in the coverage. That's all Dak. And does McCarthy even calling the plays?
No,
That's
it's
Kellen
Kellen
Moore.
Mond.
There's Kellen Moore calling the plays.
Mond.
Oh, yeah. And when we get to that, they're the last game we're going to cover. We'll talk about that very interesting final play.
Listen, I
I enjoyed watching Zeke get trucked. Don't get me wrong, but like you were practicing that.
Yeah, that was bad.
If you look at the formation, they definitely were not practicing that.
What are you doing? But like against the defense against San Francisco, you're not going to pull that off. That's a patient play.
Yeah.
When you need your quarterback to stand there by himself and hope everyone gets down the field, Zeke's your blocker. And whether or not it's scheme or talent, what San Francisco great at, they're aggressive. They attack the ball. And you saw it. As soon as they ran over Zeke, and as soon as, who caught the ball? Was it Turbin?
Actually, I think it was Turpin, yeah.
Caught the ball, and he didn't even get a step before he was on the turf. He got plowed.
Yeah.
It was...
Well, if you look at the play, it looks like it was actually going to be a play for... I'm trying to think of that old guy they just signed, T.Y. Hilton. Because it looked like a screenplay, how you see the lineman going up. It looked like it was going to be that, but then you saw Zeke got trucked, so he kind of had to chuck it.
Like we all knew someone was a little suspect when before the play they announced he was ineligible as a receiver. Wouldn't you want a guy who can carry the ball or break a tackle to get the ball?
Why would
Enough
you
play?
want a real center? Just snap the ball, block.
Who
Did
might
you not-
block for more than a second?
Were they not expecting pass rush?
Exactly. You're gonna make it easy for Dak?
Yeah.
Come on. Everyone makes it easy for Dak, and he still makes the mistakes. So that was probably the worst coaching decision throughout it. But the rest of it, it was a defensive game. And actually, maybe we'll skip. We'll come back to Cincinnati and Buffalo last, since we're already diving into San Francisco and Dallas. Ryan, you were going to take this one. What stood out about that game to you?
I picked the Cowboys to win, and that was a huge mistake.
Ew.
I don't think I should ever really try to take Dak to win a game again, especially a playoff game. He just doesn't have that, what do you call it?
The clutch gene.
Yeah, the clutch. Yeah, he doesn't have that clutch gene in him.
Well, that's the thing. I'd be interested to know if Dak ends up on another team one day, and he doesn't have the
As a backup.
whatever he does. Is this the curse of the Cowboys? The 27-year drought of Jerry Jones running his mouth for 27 years, 30 years, and they're never going to get over the hump as long as he's the owner. Like, does Zach go somewhere else and it's like, okay, now I'll have to deal with this and I might actually get somewhere? Is it the Cowboy thing?
It's Jerry Jones' fault for signing mid QBs to giant contracts.
You're not wrong with that. I mean, they signed him and Zeke, and they gave a ton of money to both of them.
You got to give
Never
Dak
paid
credit.
a running back.
Got to give him some sort of credit because he's a third round pick, like a late third round pick. He's exceeded expectations.
Oh yeah, I think Dak's a much better quarterback than everyone thought he was going to be coming out of college, and probably didn't deserve all that money. But there's the health factor, and he misses games every year. And then those big moments, he comes up small. So what are you going to do? I'm don't worry. My heart enjoys every moment of that. And part of me would have loved to have the Cowboys coming into the link this week to smash them. But you know what? I think I'd rather play the better team. Because what's been one of the rips on the Eagles all year has been, their schedule's been easy. Yeah. It's been soft and things like that. But in the grand scheme, Dallas was doing the same thing. They would take advantage of a weak schedule. And then when they had a great team ahead of them, they couldn't get out of their own way. So, I mean, it's not like San Francisco was lighting the world on fire last week either.
They look vulnerable.
It's
Very
an okay
vulnerable.
game. I think they were resting their starters. Like, not resting, obviously, they still played them, but they weren't going as hard because, you got to go hard against the Eagles because that team, it's going to be hell.
Yeah.
That's
very physical game. That'll be the interesting thing. I mean, what's the stat that's I've heard a few times this year was it every team that played the Niners this year lost the following week? Whether they won or lost against the Niners, they all lost the following week because they were so beat up. Because the Niners are relentless and they're going to hit you and get you tired and all that. That's another thing that makes this NFC Championship so interesting is you got two teams who are just very aggressive. The Niners are bigger, Eagles are a little faster. It's a scheme thing. And we'll get to the NFC Championship in a few minutes. But, I think it pointed out a lot of the flaws in Dallas had all season. That a lot of people were waiting to come out. I think if Tony Pollard doesn't get hurt, I think it's a completely different game.
Yeah, he got hurt mid-game, right?
Yeah, or second quarter or something like that. And that changed it all.
Yeah, I actually just got surgery on that.
Yeah, it was broken. It was
Yeah,
because
it's bad.
They said he'll be healthy for next season, training camp.
He only had 22 yards that game.
Yeah,
you can really see how that injury affected
they
him.
went 3 and out the first 2 times. I mean, it was a defensive battle early. They were feeling each other out.
Yeah, 9-9, right?
And watching San Francisco, and I know Dallas has great playmakers in certain positions.
They do,
but they're not great everywhere. Mm-hmm. And the more I watch the Niners, as their winning streak continued and they started getting more national games and they've been on more and I've had the opportunity to watch more, they don't throw the ball down the field at all. They don't take risks. And I noticed it years ago. It's got to be a Shanahan thing. And it's like he acts like his team is terrible even when they're not. I'm like, are you protecting Purdy? Or do you believe in your defense so much that you're like, we can dink and dunk? Or do we hope every play is just going to be a catch it 8 yards deep and then run for the other 80 yards?
Yeah, it's probably a combination of both.
But also, I haven't seen a Shanahan really call a play call that's really deep like that since when he is the offensive coordinator for the Falcons.
I mean, who was when he had Kaepernick? Because that dude could launch the ball 70 yards flat-footed.
Yeah.
There was that, and now he's got the talent for it. This is where the championship game gets interesting. Is I thought they would take more shots against Dallas because a lot of their best players are their linebackers, their linemen. Their secondary is solid, so I thought they would take more chances with that.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They really didn't, unless they're worried about Purdy. How many balls did the Cowboys clean, get their hands on, and just drop? Diggs had that one that hit him in the chest and the hands and fell through his legs. And the week before against Seattle, there was 2 that were in their hands.
Yeah.
At key moments, and then wasn't it? Against Dallas, wasn't it? He drops that interception, and the next play goes in for a touchdown. Like a play or two later did.
Possibly. I remember the one. It was a deep shot to Ayuk. He has Ayuk if he places the ball a tad bit more forward, but he places it a tad bit behind him. The DB, I think it is Diggs. I'd like to say it is Diggs. Tries to make the play on it, but he has the ball. He's going to intercept it. Then Ayuk swipes it out of his hand, and so it was
Yeah. I mean that your offensive players have to play defense at times. It's smart playing. I mean they're super smart and well coached. Like the games this weekend, I think both of them are going to come down to who makes the least mistakes. They should all be close in the fourth quarter. I mean, I wouldn't be so shocked if both road teams win and go to the Super Bowl because they're both riding high. Yeah. I mean, the biggest concern between two perfect games is Mahomes' ankle, which leads us in to our last game this weekend, where the Cincinnati Bengals went into Buffalo, and I'd say handily handed Buffalo at the end of their season. I don't think this was much of a game at all.
Yeah.
I mean, Cincinnati showed.
I kind of called this, to be honest.
All three of you guys did.
Yeah, we all picked Cincinnati.
I was like, you know what? They're in Buffalo.
The NFL script writers, let's go to more Hamlin.
And that thing was, and a lot of watching the game is the stuff we put out last week. It's all on Josh Allen.
Yeah.
If he doesn't do it, this team just can't.
Mm-hmm.
They can try to run the ball. I talked about it last week that maybe should run the ball a little more just to open things up. But he wasn't even hitting his receivers.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow did not look fazed by the weather at all.
No.
Bro, they play in Buffalo. The Bills
they
are supposed to be good.
Yeah, they should be used to
the
that.
Bengals. I don't know where they play. I don't think they play because Buffalo
it's
and
cold in
Minnesota.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's cold, but not like Buffalo.
It's not Buffalo cold.
Yeah.
They still get the weather and all, and the Buffalo practices and all that stuff. And especially with that tougher team with the names and the talent.
Yeah.
Didn't matter. I mean, how many throws did Josh Allen miss?
A lot.
Yeah.
And obviously, that you saw the footage of Diggs going off and yelling at him, and Josh Allen not picking his head up while he's looking at the tablet. And it's like
that's that young man mentality.
Was it the similar to where AJ Brown got upset during the Eagles game because he just wasn't as involved as he was hoping to be? Was it frustration, or is it a sign of things aren't as clean and happy in Buffalo as they appear to be?
Well, Diggs is a veteran. So he wants to go and try to win a ring while he's in his prime. He had 1,500, 1,400 yards this season.
Yeah.
He wants that ring. He's been in Buffalo, 3 seasons, 2 or so, whatever. That team, if Von Miller doesn't get injured midseason, I think there's a good chance they make the Super Bowl. But that team really showed. There's a lot of old vets on that defense. There's Micah Hyde. I'm pretty sure he got injured for the season. Jordan Poyer got injured at some point. He came back. And even then, he got injured in that game as well.
True.
That team is not ready. At this point, in the next coming years, you might see this team. If Diggs leaves, this could be a rebuilding team. You don't know. Because that defense is just so wishy-washy. They need to build it.
Now, to piggyback that, do you think next year the Bills are still in position to make another run, or do you think this was kind of like the end of them? Remember, they were the favorites going in this year. Mm-hmm. They were that team everyone was gunning for because they were like, this is the time to get over the hump. And Von Miller is that veteran guy who can help keep everybody calm and drag you over the hump. Do they keep going next year, or is this a...
See, the thing is with that, I feel like we talked about this last week. Josh Allen mistakes over and over and over. That's all this team comes down to. Whether Josh Allen makes mistakes or not. I mean, we saw it 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
He fumbled the ball near his own end zone, pick it up for a touchdown. I mean, you can't be doing that there.
And shockingly enough, this week the game was relatively clean. His only interception was that one at the end when they were trying to make the comeback, and he throws it in double coverage.
Yeah.
And you think the week before he's fumbling the ball all over the place and it wasn't snowy and all that kind of stuff. So it's did the emotion, that wave of emotion that you had from Damar Hamlin, did that wear off? Did the momentum of that die out?
I'm not sure, but all I know is he's very inconsistent, Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Almost Dak Prescott level.
If I could cut in real fast,
Please do.
I think this is more of a coaching issue than a Josh Allen issue. Because his entire career, I'm pretty sure he's had Sean McDermott.
Who's the defensive coach?
Right,
Yeah.
right. I think he is a great elite QB with talent, but he's a young QB. He's a dumb QB. He needs to be taught more. Like,
Yeah.
you can refine the edges and all. He'd be great. He can get the deep ball. He doesn't have a noodle arm. He can run. He doesn't get hurt. He's good. This is more of relatively just a coaching issue.
If he had a coach that could use him, maybe not put him in every situation.
I think no. I give
A
you
little,
that.
I mean, the wide receivers help, but that's all about the quarterback. Maybe more of a running game.
Yeah.
Protect him a little more.
I think it's more about getting the little kinks and nicks out. Just good coaches know how to make a good player into a great player. Because it's just a lot of rough edges there. If they can just cut around it and say, hey, look at that, read that, don't throw that. Don't go deep down there like that. We don't need that. They need to actually get in his head about that.
Yeah. Yeah, most of that's mental. Avoiding mistakes and things like that. Yeah, like if you look at him statistically and throughout the length of his career, his MVP season is the outlier. That's the one the stats are where he doesn't have as many turnovers. And they still the yards and the stats, but he was cleaner. He didn't have as many mistakes.
You mean MVP-like season?
MVP-like season, yeah. Where he was like, second in the vote or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
But he was cleaner. Like, he stole the yards, stole the touchdowns, he stole the rushing touchdowns. But it wasn't as mistake prone, it was cleaner.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the big difference. So you look at that, it's a number, it's a stat that always has come out, even with the new advanced stats, that interception ratio. Like, how many passes do you throw and how often do you give the ball away? Yeah.
And how long till you stop getting bailed out by your defense, stopping
True.
drives? Because that defense is going to fail. Tre'Davious White, he's young now, but what happens in the next couple of years when he's not so young? Poyer's going to be gone.
Yeah,
Hyde's going to be gone. Von Miller said he's literally going to retire after this season if they won the Super Bowl and stuff like that.
So he could come back for one more, but
Possibly, but I don't know.
he was healthy his whole career with the last couple, but that's age.
Yeah.
That's Father Time wins that battle every time.
And still, he's an amazing pressure rate, just off the edge, just destructive.
Yeah, he's a beast. He's a Hall of Famer, hands down,
Easily.
no doubt. It'll be interesting to see, especially that whole division, what the AFC East does. I mean, we talked last week, the Jets are a quarterback away.
Yeah.
The Dolphins just need to keep Tua healthy, and they're probably right there. That division could easily be the best division in football. And now that the Patriots have actually hired an offensive person to coach offense, they actually might. Mac Jones might actually be happy.
Yeah. Well, okay, so here's the question now. What happens when Josh Allen doesn't get bailed out by his defense and his subpar play actually puts him at risk of missing the playoffs and they miss the playoffs? What happens?
That's a great question.
There's a good chance. I can see in the next couple of years, maybe even next year, that they trade Diggs. Because it does not look like they're mixing.
Not at all.
Josh Allen is not taking in what Diggs is saying to him. You could just see that. That's a young QB. That's something a coach needs to get on him about.
I mean, the couple times things you could hear, he's like, I'm open. Yeah, every wide receiver thinks they're open on every play.
Yeah.
But when you're down, sometimes you just got to let your guy make a play. If he's one-on-one, just launch the ball up. Guy's making $30 million a year to catch a ball. That's your job.
There's a reason why he has 1,500 yards.
Exactly. And now you're not really using him in the biggest moments of the whole thing. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, like the Chiefs were leaving Jamar Chase, or the Bills were leaving Jamar Chase alone. Still gets the ball. You know? But and I think a lot of it sometimes could be those big game moments, because Josh Allen went to a smaller school. He had some big moments in college, but he didn't go play a national championship games and that stuff like where Joe Cool did.
Joe Shiesty.
Like, nothing bothers that dude. There's like, everyone saw the quote afterwards where they're interviewing him on the field about how he felt about they were selling those tickets early, and he's like, better send those refunds. I love it. Trolling live on the field as soon as the game ends.
Joe Blow got that.
But I think he has a little right to talk it. because he brings it.
Yeah.
And
Man smokes a good cigar after almost every game. Just look at man.
and a fur coat. Even if it's not real, but it still looks super cool.
He's him.
Yeah. He's the guy you watch a lot of Namath videos growing up. And he's like, oh, he's a decent quarterback, but I love the attitude and the style. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we will come back and dive into the AFC and NFC championship games.
Attention ACIT students and staff. 2022-2023 yearbooks are on sale now. The $85 cost will rise to $90 after January 27th. Yearbook senior ads are also available to order again. They are on sale until February 9th. No more extensions will be provided. Order your yearbook at www.jostens.com/YB23.
Right. First, we're going to take a look at the AFC title game, which is a rematch. First time in a few years we've had a rematch in one of the title games of the third-ranked Cincinnati Bengals going into Kansas City. You think Kansas City is a little concerned?
Oh,
They
absolutely.
should be.
3 times in a row Cincinnati's played them, beat them handily, and Mahomes is hurt. And last week we talked about, I mentioned that the only thing that, as an Eagles fan, I was afraid of was Patrick Mahomes. And now he's hurt. Now, if he pulls out a win this week and he's got 2 weeks to rest, it's a whole different story if both teams win and go to the Super Bowl. But this week with that aggressive, experienced defense, I'd be worried because it's cold in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
And you're a high ankle sprain. How much can Mahomes really control?
True.
We're going to find out.
Without Tyreek Hill.
Without Tyreek Hill. I mean, yeah, but I think it's time to let go of the Tyreek Hill things. You look at some of his season numbers. His numbers and his efficiency and stuff was better this year. It's like the quarterback who all of a sudden, he's got the ankle issue. He can't run. He can't rely on escaping. So what does he turn into that game? He looks like a better passer, right? You've seen this stuff.
Well, because he doesn't have no deep ball no more.
Yeah, he doesn't have that as much anymore. So when you're limited to it, like, he doesn't have to try to force the ball to Tyreek Hill. He's spreading the ball out more, so he's more efficient. Definitely, he's better. He's not throwing launch of the ball as much, but he's still got his guy.
Kelsey.
Well, I saw. I don't know if you guys saw. It was like one of those film. Kelsey was mic'd up during that 13-second drive last year in the overtime, or the end of the game where they came down to score, and he called basically every play at the line of scrimmage.
Yes, I remember.
Where he's like,
that.
just come to me, I'm going here, this guy's standing here. And literally as he calls the line, he goes over and like points at Patrick Mahomes, runs his little route, open, down, open, out of bounds.
That's a veteran for you.
And he's, I mean, they're talking about as the greatest tight end. He's a wide receiver who plays tight end. It
This
really
man's
is.
in his prime still. He's 34. He's 34.
34. And I don't know if you guys listen to the Kelsey Brothers podcast, but when they start geeking out and going into football terminology and you got the 2 offensive guys calling out, it's mind-blowing. And they'll just make fun of things in complete football terms, and they'll be like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but at least you two do. So that'll be interesting if they have to play each other in the Super Bowl. But anyway, what do you guys think some big factors for this game? What do you think it'll take for Cincinnati to beat the Chiefs again?
Basically, cover Kelsey, keep an eye on McKinnon, and keep an eye out for Pacheco. I'm not that scared of Pacheco, but he has a
he
good
can
game.
run.
He can blow if you don't watch him. Don't keep him in check. But honestly, they just need to get to Mahomes. Like, they don't need to send aggressive blitzes because that's never worked. But this might be the game where it is time to send aggressive blitzes, considering he's playing with a high ankle sprain. Anybody here play through a high ankle sprain?
It's not easy.
Damn right it ain't.
I mean, you would think early in the game, you get in his face early and see if he can move or not.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even have like one of his best receivers, like MVS.
True.
That's kind of funny saying one of his best receivers.
He's got a bunch of B receivers.
Right.
But B receivers working together and playing well can wins.
A great player turns mediocre players into good players.
Exactly.
I mean, I
coaching too.
I wouldn't say NVS is like mediocre though.
He
I
is
think he's
pretty
like I look at mediocre like being below average. So I'd say he's average.
I say
He can
he's
get that
in
run after
between.
I
catch.
think he's a solid NFL quarterback, wide receiver. He's like a 2 on most teams. He could be a 2 on most teams. He's not a stud. He's not bad. Hey, if Aaron Rodgers liked him, he's got to be pretty decent. Aaron Rodgers hates everybody, even the guys on his own team. So
Oh, when he doesn't have Devante Adams to hold him at night, yeah. Oh, where's my Devante Adams?
poor Devontae goes to Vegas to be with his buddy Derek Carr,
His Fresno
and then
State
they're just like, no, we don't
QB.
like him anymore either.
Nah, throw him out. We don't need him.
He'll go to a good team. That's something we'll talk about on our show next week. Anything else you guys want to add for thoughts for the keys for Cincinnati?
Well, I mean, it's like Xzavior said, just pressure Mahomes, especially when he's dealing with this injury. It's going to be hard. I mean, we all saw him hopping on one leg to hand the ball over to, who was it, McKinnon or?
Yeah, one of them.
One of them, but
I think
still.
it's Pacheco.
Pacheco?
But also, I think they need to understand they need to have 2 game plans, maybe 3. Okay, if the pressuring Mahomes isn't working and he's going through that high ankle sprain, good. Stop pressuring him. If he's not dealing with that, pressure him.
Yeah.
And if you have to do either which, just do whatever you need.
Would be even better if they just send out the backup, though, for the Cincinnati.
I know no one who was Patrick Mahomes' backup? Oh, Chad Henne.
Chad
Who got his
Henne.
one chance last week, went down the field for
Chad
a
Hennessy.
touchdown.
Yeah.
Again, coaching, team not prepared for him.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be that far fetched if you saw them running 2 quarterbacks in and out for certain moments of the game.
For
But
safety.
Cincinnati, I mean, they're going to be ready for this. They know how to beat them, and now they have a distinct advantage again. On top of it.
Yeah. Let's not forget, this is the same team that brought the Texans to overtime. This is the same.
But also, don't forget, the Bengals are missing 3 offensive linemen. They're missing their 2 tackles. At least, I think one of them's a tackle. I'm not sure. I know they're missing Jonah Williams. I know they're missing Alex Kappa. I think he's their right guard. Or, I don't remember the other guy's name. He's kind of irrelevant mid. But, yeah. They need to keep Joe Blow safe and healthy.
Max protect.
You don't need another first-year Joe Blow. He takes a couple bad hits and then done.
Yeah. I mean, how many games? It was the first playoff game 2 weeks ago. He was sacked by 9 times.
Something like
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
He still won.
He's still going to find a way to win.
Yeah.
You need to watch out for Frank Clark, Chris Jones, because the reps let them get away with a lot of stuff. I have
Yes.
watched them. They get away with a ton of stuff.
Hey, playoffs. It's got to let them play a little bit more.
No, just general. In general, they get away with a lot of dirty hits and bad stuff. I don't like to call players dirty, but Chris Jones is dirty.
So this entire game really hinges on the ankle of one Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Right.
If he's
Yeah.
good, I mean, even if he's completely healthy, doesn't mean they're going to win
No.
because Cincinnati knows how to beat them. But it could be more of a game if he's healthy.
Let's see the competence of Zach Taylor.
Yeah, and I think he's an excellent coach. He's proven that. So I think it'll be really interesting. So all right, let's make our picks. I'm gonna stick with what I picked at the beginning of this whole thing. I'm sticking with the Bengals to win this. They're I think they're better on both sides of the ball. I think they're better defensively than Kansas City is. I think offensively it's kind of a wash. Like talent-wise, you look at Jamar Chase and Kelsey are both studs. Different positions, but attract a lot of attention, can run that whole thing. I think it's kind of a wash running backs. Mixon's better than Pacheco, but he's not great. He's not breaking any games. He scored 5 touchdowns on one game and like 3 more the rest of the season. You know, it's control. It's going to come on the shoulders of the quarterbacks. You know, T. Higgins is going to have himself a big game. It's going to take a big turnover at a big moment. I still think it's a close game, but Cincinnati's favored about 2.5, 2 points. So Kansas City's not even getting the 3 points at home. So if you look at it, you know, for years it's always been the team at home gets 3 points. So if you see like home team favored by 3, they're getting it just because they're at home. It's a pick-up, basically. And that's what this is. They're looking at this as Cincinnati's not scared of Kansas City. Kansas City's the best player in the league is injured.
Yeah.
Everything lines up for the Bengals to make a return trip to the Super Bowl. What do you guys think?
What do you?
Um,
I'm gonna ask you guys to pick first.
I want to go first here, so I'm gonna take the Bengals. Bengals defense has looked pretty good, I'd say. It's funny on Twitter, Eli Apple, if you've seen that.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
the trash talking.
The disrespect is wild.
I mean,
It's like I'm a backup player now. I wonder if he's like their hype man. He's like, I don't get on the field, but I talk so much trash.
Who's gonna get cut next year?
Yeah, probably.
After he gets
I mean, he's looked decent though.
Yeah, he's not a bad player. He's not.
Yeah.
He
He's really not.
wasn't. The Giants drafted him first round.
Yeah.
So that's why he's got the name and all that. He wasn't a first round guy, but he's not a bad player at all.
Yeah.
Continue. Sorry.
That's pretty much it. They
So-
just have to slow down Kelsey at the Bengals. Just slow down Kelsey. Don't neutralize him because there's other threats as well. But gotta slow him down because he had, I think, like 14 receptions
Yeah.
last game and like 90 yards or 98 yards, something like that. Yeah, you shouldn't have him getting over 5 receptions, in my opinion.
So you picked the Bengals?
Yeah,
I'm gonna rock with you too. I'm gonna pick the Bengals as
I made a
well.
mistake last week not picking the Bengals.
Okay.
Not because it was like a 3-game win, because you two both picked it, and I want my record to look good as well. But also, when we're looking at the game, obviously, I mean the offense. I mean of both sides. The synergy is there between Kelsey and Mahomes. If Mahomes is able to, throw the ball to him as well, which I'm sure he will. And Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, because they both played at LSU. LSU at college. I mean, they already had that synergy. So going in, I'm sure he's going to throw it to him a lot more. But I wouldn't be surprised if he, threw it to T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, right?
Yeah,
And hand the ball over
the hand,
to
Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon. Yeah.
Yeah. And
He's
Pete
getting a run
Ryan's
game going.
is solid.
He's a
Again,
good pass
he's
catcher.
not a game breaker, but he tends not to make. I say that now. Tends not to make mistakes and things like that.
Yeah.
For our listeners who want to keep track of last weekend, I told you to mention that last weekend. It was pretty close. I went 4-0 last weekend. Both Jaden and Xzavier went 3-1.
Yeah.
Xzavier took the Giants to beat the Eagles, and Jaden took the Bills to beat the Bengals. Ryan went 2-2 for taking the Jags and the Cowboys. But you guys are picking your opposites to try to hope you get your records improve.
Yeah.
So going into championship weekend, I'm currently 9-1. Jaden's 8-2. X-Man's 6-4, and Ryan, you're running 500 at 5-5. So you're about to make your point. I'm feeling you're about to give me the how do you bet against Patrick Mahomes argument.
Never bet against Mahomes.
You know what? I would say that, but you don't go against Joe Blow, Joe Shicey. I'm taking the Bengals. Easy peasy. They're gonna win this.
Glad we all agree.
Clean sweep. We're all taking the Cats.
So if we all lose, we're all going down one.
Yep. The Bengals.
Mr. All would be in the lead. I'd be second, and then what? You two tied in record total?
I'm just betting.
Yeah, we'd be right behind us.
Yeah. By one, I think, or a couple.
And depending on the Bengals win, the winner of the next game we're going to talk about is determine what color jersey I guess I'll wear Super Bowl Sunday. Because I can take out my number 9 Bengals jersey, no problem. But not if they're playing the team wearing green. So to wrap up for today, the game though we'll probably end up debating, arguing about the most. The NFC Championship game of the San Francisco 49ers, the number 2 ranked Niners, versus the number 1 seeded Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. This is the early game on Sunday, the 3 p.m. game on Fox. I don't know if anybody wants to start this off.
I'll start it off.
Right,
No.
go.
Okay, I'm gonna start out with something. If the 49ers do win this game, I really feel bad for the 49ers fans in the stands because they're gonna.
You mean the Eagles fans and stands?
They're
No, the 49ers fans. If they win.
Because they might not make it out alive.
Yeah. But focusing on the actual game, I don't like both teams. I hate the Niners more though, since they're in my division.
Well, that's your
It's a
fan.
long
That's your
time.
fandom speaking.
Yeah, rivalry and all that. I don't know who I'm taking yet though to win this game because it's on both sides. They're stacked.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the matchup everybody wanted. You got the best 2 teams from all season.
Yeah.
And I understand the playoff narratives. The playoffs change the narrative, and it's all recency bias. And I get it. Those last couple weeks, Jalen Hurts gets hurt. The Eagles don't look so good. They lose 2 games with Minshew. They look, I say bad, but just uneventful during that last game in Week 18.
Yeah.
And then they come out and blow the brakes off the Giants last week.
See,
And it's like, oh, this is the team are they becoming the team they were the first 79 games of the season? Was it they're just that much better than the Giants were?
See, the thing is with that, what was it, week 18 when we barely won? I don't think we opened our playbook as much.
At all. We didn't get past page 2.
Yeah. I mean, when we're going against backups, there's no point to go full throttle.
True.
But then again, you see Nick Sirianni getting upset because, deep down he wants to blow them out and it'll look better for the team as a whole. But just blowing them out with the Giants starters, I mean, it was... I don't want to say expected because a lot of people thought that game would be close. But watching that game, I almost turned the TV off by half.
Yeah, it got a little boring in the second half from a game watching standpoint. I completely agree with that. I mean, I enjoyed all of it.
Yeah.
I expected the Eagles to beat them handily. I didn't think it was going to be a 31-point game. But But at this point, I said it to a couple of friends of mine. We were talking about something the other day. Is that my confidence in the Eagles is starting to borderline on cocky. That even looking at the numbers and the matchups, and it scares me because being a Philadelphia sports fan, I'm bred to expect disappointment and the worst. Yeah. But I watch this team play, and even the matchups, and I watch the Niners play, and they are studs all over the place. But I start seeing when they match up against each other, where the Niners are good, the Eagles might be a little better in certain places. Where the Eagles are weak, the Niners might be better in certain places. Yeah. So I think in a lot of ways, this is going to come down to pure execution.
See, with the defense of the Eagles, I mean, we got to stop McCaffrey. And McCaffrey's going to be a huge threat.
I think that's the biggest thing they have to do.
Yeah.
Statistically, I was analyzing stuff the other day, is that with McCaffrey on the field, the whole playbook is open. Like, you can put him anywhere on the field and it opens it up for the wide receivers. But when Elijah Mitchell's on the field, there's not as much mystery involved. He's probably going to get the ball for a run.
Really?
You don't have to worry about him as a receiver. Like, he can catch the ball,
but
he's not going to do what McCaffrey does. He just doesn't. And McCaffrey's fighting a calf injury, the tightness of that. If you watched the game last week, Miss Gaffrey. It's going to be cold this weekend. And if he can't get his calf loose and he misses snaps, I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I mean, neither.
That's great
for the Birds. Fine though, but
I don't want any bad injuries. The guy's too good, and seems like too good of a guy to have to go through what he's gone through in his career with the injuries and stuff like that. But no, I don't want him winning and dominating my team this weekend.
Yeah, of course. Our team. Yeah,
and if you look at them the first half of the season versus second half of the season, San Francisco's offense is completely different with McCaffrey. He opened up the book for him. Mm-hmm. He gave him the flexibility of having that guy who can do everything. That you don't put an eye on Mitchell. You don't keep an extra guy who's just going to stare at him when you're worrying about Ayuk and those other guys. He's good.
Yeah.
He's not McCaffrey. But McCaffrey on the field, you're playing 11 on 11. Everybody's got to watch somebody. And I think that's one of the biggest things they're going to have to deal with this weekend is how do you at least keep an eye on that guy, where if you're putting too many eyeballs on McCaffrey, then Debo's running down the field. And stuff like that. It's again, I think it's execution. Is who makes the least amount of mistakes. Even though, looking at these two teams, it's going to be a 42-41 game. It'll probably be 17-16. Chances are. You're itching to pop it.
Yeah, I'm kind of itching too to say something. I just want to say the Niners, they got to attack the Niners secondary. That's their weak point in their defense. I feel
the outsides.
If they really throw not deep passes, but middle length passes, you know what I mean? They need to have intermediate, They need to hit 15, 20-yard passes to AJ Brown.
Because San Francisco's safeties are good.
Yeah.
They have that all-pro safety. Their corners are weak.
Funga.
Yeah, he's great. So you got to attack the outsides. So it's their offense passing the ball is the opposite of ours. You don't attack the outside of the Eagles. They got Slay and Bradbury, but their linebackers are suspect. Their safeties are decent. But at the middle of the field, who's one of their best players, it's Kittle.
Yeah.
He could run free over the middle of the field against Eagles defense, where AJ Brown and Devontae Smith could run free on the outsides. So that's a huge matchup right there. It's similar, just opposite parts of the field. That helps Purdy because you've seen he's not necessarily strong enough to hit some of those outside throws. And that's where he's gotten bit. That's where he's thrown a couple of those possible picks over those last couple of weeks. Now, the key is that the Eagles can hold on to those balls and things like that. But the linebackers in the middle of the field, if you're to keep an eye on Kittle and an eye on McCaffrey and Debo run, because the majority of San Francisco's routes are those in-breaking ones. Guy runs 5-10 yards and cuts into the middle, and they try to get confusion across the middle of the field in the depth and find that guy who sits in a zone somewhere. How do you pick? You just pick your poison.
Personally, I think the Niners would be smart if they would run a 2 running back formation almost all game. Because, okay, you're not going to know if they're running or if they're actually passing. Just have, like, the running backs doing their own thing. You could have McCaffrey doing almost anything.
You can put him out as a receiver, and then you have to pay attention to him and just run the ball to Mitchell, and he's probably going to have a lane somewhere.
Right. Or pass to Mitchell. Like, okay, Mitchell's not the best passer, but yeah. And then once they think you're just passing to Mitchell, they might, even if you take your eye from McCaffrey, insy little bits. That white boy gonna get that ball. He gonna go for a 90-yard touchdown. You gotta watch yourself.
Yeah, you gotta be extremely careful.
He's very
good.
good.
I think a lot of it's not getting beat deep for either team. Now, the Eagles get beat underneath, somebody will run them. The Niners don't want to get beat over the top. And this is a Sirianni thing that he's done all year. Is like AJ was not thrilled that he wasn't highly involved last week. I get it. Diva wide receivers want the ball. You're up 30 points.
Yeah.
It's fine. You'll get your chance. Why don't you save your best game for the Super Bowl? That'd be fine.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So early in the game this week, they're going to try to force feed him a couple balls. And the best thing their corners can do is you press AJ so he doesn't get that free release for those slants. You can't necessarily get up close on Devontae because he'll beat you most of the time. Like, I know AJ's bigger, stronger, almost indefensible, but I think from a pure like route running defense standpoint, Devontae Smith is so much harder to cover.
Jalen Hurts cannot screw up this game because that defense has 3 All-Pros. It has Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and Hufanga. Hufanga, I literally see him all over the field. He's the guy who's going to make almost every single tackle. He's basically how Palomalu used to be. He used to jump over formations.
They were talking about this morning that he's trained by Palomalu.
Yeah. Like, if they're smart, I would have Hufanga basically play like the middle of the field to the deeper part of the field. Because I want to see, because the Eagles are probably going to get tricked. They're going to be like, all right, this is one-on-one. The cornerback, he's going to get beat. He's going to get flown by. The cornerback's probably going to go. He's going to throw the ball, Hufanga. He's going to go, snatch that. And that's the thing about young QBs. They just don't fully see it yet.
Yeah. We're about to see how much he's really learned. Because I don't think he had to interpret much last week against the Giants. And once they got up, they just started running the ball.
Right. And their cornerbacks, there's nothing you can do about that. Their cornerbacks, Darnay Holmes. Question? Anybody else know who he is? Who?
Exactly. They're decent players, but they're helped by a great scheme, and they've got talent around them to protect them a little bit. And their all defensive line, like their defensive ends are great, but they're a little weaker in the middle. So, I mean, if the Eagles' offensive line can get out early and just start running the ball, I mean, they said it during the broadcast last week during the Giants game where when they took the big defensive lineman, we talked about this yesterday, his name escaped me again, off the field for the Giants, the Eagles just started pounding the ball up the middle.
Leonard Williams?
Yeah, when Leonard Williams came off the field, they went 6 straight runs with Sanders. And they just kept running. They went all the way down the field and barely passed the ball because they didn't have to.
And you know the Niners do take Bosa and Arik Armstead, or however you say his name, the D tackle, off the field.
Yeah, they're going to rotate.
Yeah.
So when they come off, even that one snap, even if it's like a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, that guy's not there. The Eagles called it last week. They called a 3rd and 8 to Kenneth Gainwell that went for a first down and stuff like that. You're going to take those guys off the field, and if Lane Johnson is healthy, if plays like he did last week, in playoff football, it's simple. If you can defend and run the ball, that's the recipe for success. The Eagles can do both. The Niners can stop both.
Yeah.
The thing is, could. You never know.
Could. Exactly.
They can have a 9-minute drive, or they can have like a minute drive. If Jalen Hurts does something stupid, if he fumbles, this is a lot for such a young QB. The NFC Championship. Think about that. This kid, let's see, he played at Bama. I don't think they won. on anything.
He
when
was
he
in,
started.
and they pulled him for Tua, and then he transferred.
Right. Like, this is going to be a very big time for Jalen Hurts. And this is really going to show, is he going to crack under pressure? Or will he be the guy that's going to win you multiple Super Bowls?
Let's start with one.
I'm more concerned for man, what was I gonna say? I'm trying to think about what I was gonna say. Someone else can take over. I gotta think.
Is it about Niners offense? What do you think about Purdy?
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say I think the Niners offense is gonna cut through the Eagles defense like butter this weekend, in my opinion, because just I don't see them with all the weapons the Niners have. I don't see them like stopping them at all, in my opinion.
I think these are some young and dumb QBs we got here. They are very young. What? Jalen Hurts, 22. I don't even know Brock Purdy's age. I'm assuming he's 21, 22, whatever.
I think he's 23.
I think he's 23.
Is he
23? He played 4 years.
He didn't run sure. Gotcha. This is gonna really come out to how many mistakes are you gonna make.
Yeah.
This is pitch perfect football right here. Like, if you're playing the Bengals, okay, that's different. Like, the Bengals don't have, you guys aren't neck and neck for like the best defenses, the best offenses. But you just sit in here. There is no mistakes that can be made. None.
It has to be clean. Yeah, and especially and a lot of it's where you make your mistakes. If you're gonna make a mistake, don't do it deep in your own zone. You know, if you're gonna you're gonna throw a junk ball up, make sure it's like deep in their zone. So if they intercept it, all right, it's a long punt. It's not a mistake, it's a long punt. You gotta be able to pick where you're making those, where you make the risks that put you at risk and things like that. I think that's a big thing. Like the whole, when's Purdy gonna start looking like a rookie? I don't know if he's ever gonna look like that rookie you expect. He seems pretty. Has he made some poor decisions throwing the ball last week? Yeah, but he's gotten protected. It hasn't happened. Yeah, it's a tough game to pick. It really is. I mean, I know who I'm going with. But just from a straight analytical matchup, there are certain things like we were talking about yesterday that the Niners have a great defense, but apparently they're one of the worst on third downs and fourth downs and in the red zone. And the Eagles were top 2 in all 3 of those categories. So that's, again, if the Eagles can get them down close enough, it's to their advantage. But between the 20s, the Niners have a distinct advantage getting down the field. So it's like, if you can find that 1 or 2 play to get you down the field and get in the red zone, Eagles have an opportunity. If the Niners can keep them out of the red zone, it's advantage Niners. And little things like that. It's who executes at those times when it happens. Who makes the mistake? Who can, at the right time and things like that? Who gets off to a good start? Yeah. When I tried to the game on Saturday, when I realized the Eagles I was like shocked the Eagles were getting the ball first.
Yeah.
I turned it on right before the game started. I had to text all my friends. I was like, wait, did the Giants win and defer, or did the Eagles actually accept it? No, the Giants deferred. And it's like, it's one of those, who's going to make that decision? Does the Niners defense want to come out and smack the Eagles offense in the face and make them go 3 and out and force them into that? Or do the Niners want to come out and get the ball, get on the field, get points in the event that the Eagles offense looks like the Eagles offense?
If since Kyle Shanahan's so conservative and stuff like that with the ball and going for it, I think if he gets the coin toss, he'll probably say, all right, let's get it at halftime, and if we're down, let's go get a touchdown. If we're not down, we could just run the ball.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
That's what I was just about to say.
I was about to ask, are the Niners actually going to go for risky plays this game? And like Xzavior said, it depends on whether they're up, they can run the ball, or whether they're down.
They're mostly conservative, though.
Yeah.
I've watched them for years, obviously, but with I forgot who their last head coach was.
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh, yeah. I don't want to get too in on that, but I've watched them for years, and I guess it's kind of the same coaching style, in my opinion. Pretty much the same. But I wanted to say the Eagles' run defense isn't too good for being a top 2-3 team in the league,
Yeah, they're
and they really
rough on
can't
the schedule,
stop like short passes like that. They're not really fit for that. It's the deep passes.
It's they're good against the deep pass. It's that it's the soft zones.
Yeah.
That's all they've been talking about on local Philly radio this week is like Jonathan Gannon and the soft zones.
Goofy out coverages.
And this is not the team that you want. And what was the biggest thing last year, the first half of the season, when he played the soft zones and all those quarterbacks completed 80% of passes against the Eagles. It was like they were killing them. They couldn't. It's not that they were getting blown out. They just couldn't get off the field. Like this is not the team that you play that defense against because you missed one tackle. Ayuk, Debo, gone. So yeah, that's a.
You gotta apply extra pressure.
But the question is, how
I'm
much?
really
did,
worried about that this weekend.
Yeah.
How much did their schedule help them? Considering they had like the last schedule, like no, sorry, the easiest schedule.
Who are the Eagles?
Yes, this year.
Yeah, but
how much did it help
They
them?
can't
though?
control that.
You can't,
Because
yeah,
they-
exactly. You can't
Okay,
control that.
okay, wait a second. I know you're right. I agree with you absolutely. But I'm talking about for next year. What's to say if they have a hard schedule, they don't go 8-8 or 8-9 actually?
Well, there's only a couple good teams in the league, like elite teams.
But they
so-
went up against really easy teams though.
Yeah.
That's the question though.
But even if they play all the good teams,
Like-
that's only like 5 losses at most.
But this game
If they
is
lose every game.
really going to propel them. If they can beat the Niners, I think they're sending a message to the entire league.
Let's see. I'm looking at the Niners schedule right now from the season. Who might have been their toughest opponents? We
Didn't
got-
Kansas
us.
City beat them by like 20 points or
I
something?
mean, here's
like
you
that?
real quick. The Bears, the Seahawks, the Broncos, the Rams, the Panthers, the Falcons took all the way to the week 7 against the Chiefs, where they lost 44-23 before they played a legitimate contending team. Then back to the Rams. Okay, then get the Chargers. They beat the Chargers by 6.
That's not that-
The Cardinals, the
That's iffy
Saints, Dolphins, playoff team, Buccaneers, you put a quick playoff team with an asterisk next to it, and they handled them 35-7 because obviously we learned the Buccaneers were not that good. Seahawks, Commanders, Raiders, Cardinals.
So
I mean,
they
our
had an
division
easy
is
schedule to start the year. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
So both teams played relatively flaky schedules.
Yeah.
Right. Except the Niners face harder competition. No offense. But yeah, agree.
I mean,
You're splitting hairs now.
our like the NFC West is a very weak division right now. The Rams are like the worst.
Super Bowl defenders.
yeah,
of all
Super Bowl
time.
defenders all time.
Yeah,
Then
if you
you
want
have
to
the
compare
Cardinals.
the two, the NFC East almost had all 4 teams in the playoffs this year.
Almost.
Almost, and
And that's
Kyler
all-
Murray won't get off of Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's kind of a problem. Well, not for you, Seahawks fan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, we can take a quick look at the week by week for the Eagles to see how many real genuine opponents. So they started with the Lions, but that was before the Lions.
Traded Hawkinson.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The
They
Lions
only
didn't
beat them
start
by
off hot.
3,
Which.
but then they pounded the Vikings, which shouldn't surprise anybody.
Yeah.
Commanders, Jaguars, but this is when the Jaguars got off to the rough start.
Mhm.
Cards, Cowboys, but that was Cooper Rush. Steelers, Texans, Commanders. The Colts was probably their tightest game.
Yeah.
And that was the first or second game.
That was
when
bad. I
Jackson
remember
had
watching
raced.
that. I
So
remember
the
watching
Colts
that.
were going on emotion, and the Eagles
Yeah.
were like taking a week off and then had to scrape their way through a win.
Gave us 5 bye weeks this season.
Packers, you would think would have been a good game going into the season, but not. Titans would have been a better game a few weeks earlier.
If you didn't injure our players. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that. He like headbutt when
You can blame whatever you want.
Our number one cornerback, our number one middle linebacker, our number one wide receiver.
Who
our
are they,
rookie
though?
wide receiver, though.
Who?
The rookie wide receiver got hurt. We didn't hurt everybody else. We took Derrick Henry out of the game, and the game was over.
Nah,
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Nah,
You
nah.
didn't have
You heard-
Tannehill.
Okay, you heard David Long. You heard our D tackle, our nose tackle. We needed that boy. We need that though, boy.
Good. I sent everybody their money for their bounties. Kidding. There's no money spent on injury players here.
He is not kidding.
Now we're going to teach your salary. How much do you think I am? After the Titans, it was the Giants. That was the blowout game. The Bears, the Cowboys, the Saints, and then 2 games against the Giants. So, yeah, the Niners played like 1 or 2. They played the Chiefs. So that was really, and both teams really played subpar competition the majority of the year. So that's what makes this game even harder, I think, is the fact that both teams, the Niners and the Eagles,
mid teams.
Played middle of the road teams.
Yeah.
And they smashed the teams they should have. The teams they didn't take seriously, they barely beat. But now they're about to play their best opponent all season. And not saying that probably the best game they played all was last week. The Niners beat the Cowboys, probably the best team. We know the Cowboys weren't that good anyway.
Yeah.
So that's what makes this really interesting. I have another thing up here. It's the most fourth down attempts by teams, and the Niners are in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th from the bottom, and the Eagles are 4th at the top. So that's something we mentioned yesterday is with the conservative, and we talked about it a few minutes ago. The conservativeness of Kyle Shanahan. No one punts or kicks field goals on 4th down more than he does. So you might, as a fan, be maybe less stress.
Yeah.
But that might be one of those. This is the game. You might start pulling things out of the rabbit out of the hat.
Yeah.
To keep them on your toes. But if it's a close game, don't be surprised if the Niners just kick a bunch of field goals and then try to put it on their defense.
See, the thing is, I feel like the reason we're like top 4 is all these QB sneaks by Jalen Hurts and
Oh, yeah.
3rd and 1.
You
or
have
4th and 1s.
you have a genuine advantage.
Yeah.
Last week, and this is where the wrinkles come in. That's why if you really watch and break down what the Eagles do, their scheme and the way they line up is not that different all the time. It looks very similar, but then they'll just run it differently.
Yeah.
On the run it left to right or a delay to one side and things like that, where they have to get creative later in the season. Last week there was a 4th and 1.5, and they lined up for that QB sneak with the 2 guys behind him to push him over, and then he ran that pitch that Doug Peterson ran to Etienne to set up the field goal 2 weeks ago,
Right.
and it was like the same play. They're looking for one thing, and you ran it slightly differently. It was a completely different play, but you gave him the same look, and it went for like 15 yards. It's going to be who's going to get creative at the right time. Each team's going to pull a wacky trick play out of that.
Gotta go deep in that damn playbook.
There's no holding back now. If you want to get super creative again, you got 2 more weeks. You win this game, you got 2 more weeks to get creative after that. But I think this is a tough one to pick. And I think a lot of people are really hyping up the Niners for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But it's also they've won 12 games in a row. The Eagles had that lull at the end of the season. So you look at just recency and you go, well, the Niners, with the eye test, should win this game. And then you look at last week and you're like, okay, maybe not. Maybe this is a battle.
Cowboys defense held them down.
Yeah, exactly. The Cowboys defense kept them in check the entire game, and their offense failed them. If the Cowboys offense was decent in any regard, Pollard didn't get hurt, we're probably talking about an Eagles-Cowboys matchup.
We're going to call up the Cowboys and be like, yeah, I know we hate each other, but like, can you send us your defensive playbook real quick?
Just your game film for last week?
Yeah,
All
that
right,
too.
so what do you think for the Niners and the Eagles?
I'll go first. I don't really hate the Eagles. I just dislike them, but I hate the Niners. But I'm gonna take the Niners anyway. I'm going with just so I think it's not who's gonna win. Not who's
Risky
not gonna win.
pick.
So I'm taking the Niners. I hate them.
You gotta take your heart out of it.
Yeah.
One word. 49ers.
That's 2 words.
No, it's not.
49.
No, it's the.
Is 49 one word or 2 words?
We're talking in the
It's one if
context.
you're putting the dash in the middle, but we're talking the number 4, the 9, and the ERS,
We're talking about the team.
the T.
Okay, so
So for the 49ers, one word.
49ers.
You're picking your.
No, I'm kidding. Of course,
Well,
I'm
hey,
for the Eagles.
there is something to picking the other team to hope it just creates good karma for your team. But I'm not even gonna hedge. I'm thinking about it. It's just, the Eagles are gonna win on Sunday.
Eagles are.
Like I said, I'm confident to the point of cockiness at this point. And looking at the numbers and breaking down, the advantages between the two teams, I see a slight advantage to the Eagles. And
I can
that
see
might
some
be
bias
enough.
here.
Of course, they're my favorite team, but I've watched enough and I've seen the Niners play enough that if it does open up, I think the Eagles have more versatility to make more impact. But again, it could be a close game at the end. Both teams could be running up and down the field. I think if the offensive scheme away from the defenses, both teams are going to run up the score. It's going to come down to who's holding the ball, who makes the least mistakes late in the game, who makes the right play or the right play call late in the game to seal it. it's, Cowboys run up the field, and when you try to get out of bounds, you fall backwards. Somebody needs to teach Dalton Schultz the rule book.
What you doing, little boy?
Don't get soft when your season's on the line. But little things like that, little plays like that, make or
Average
break.
Cowboys
If
player.
the Cowboys had those 15 yards, if he would have caught that ball in bounds and then would have had the clock stop running, that the last silly play the Cowboys run would have been 30 yards further up the field. It might have been a bit easier of a play.
Yeah.
So little things make big differences.
Nah, but for being serious, Dak would have just thrown in interceptions at
Probably.
end of game.
We just would have laughed and laughed and laughed.
I would have watched
Average
everybody.
Dak Prescott play.
I would have watched everybody burn their Dak Prescott jerseys.
Well, I want to
we
say
saw
one
the
thing.
video yesterday. The
Yeah,
guy
already
ran
did.
over his TV.
Yes, angry fans. Buy a new one for next year.
I'm really gonna enjoy watching this game. Just want to say.
Yeah, if anything, I would say this is usually the best weekend, the best 2 games, so you get the 4 best. Because there's a lot of Super Bowls that are blowouts. But we all picked the Bengals, and we are split 50-50 for the Eagles and the 49ers. Anything else you guys want to add before we wrap up
Nah.
our show for this week?
Not really.
All right.
I think I've said everything I need to say.
Have a good one, guys.
Well, thank our listeners for
Thank you for
joining
listening.
us. Thank you, guys. Thank you for another awesome episode of ACIT's ProPod. I want to thank my co-host for joining me, as always. Next week, we'll take a look back at the conference title games and then take a deeper dive back into the 2022 season as a whole, including what teams might only be a few moves or key moves away from jumping back into the playoffs next year. And we'll take a look at what division this year was terrible, and we're pointing the finger at probably the NFC South and the AFC North, that can produce a contender next year. So if you think back last year, the NFC East was one of the worst divisions in football until the Eagles made that run to get in the playoffs at the end. But otherwise, they were terrible. But then this year had the best overall record in the league. So what division next year might flip that switch? And then, next week we'll give our first impressions of the Super Bowl before diving in closer during Super Bowl week. So on behalf of Jaden, Xzavior, and Ryan, I am Brian. Please enjoy the championship games this weekend and continue to pursue what you love. We'll see you next time.
Flag or slap.
Go Birds!